and we are already done with the first chapter, Tele 41. There, I've told you all the basics of the computers, in the basics of the programming that we use. What are the process of the program that we can do uh, in all through the input and output processes, all the things that I have discussed earlier in the first video. The link will be in the description, and this is the second video of our program. Okay, in this program we will go to the second chapter. This is our second chapter, Introduction to the C++. In the first video I have discussed how to install the C++ and how to start with the C++. Now we will go inside of the C++, how we can differentiate the lines and how we can differentiate the parts of C++. If we see such lines, this is basically a comment. With these two slashes are used to make a line a comment. Include IOStream. This is a pre-processor directives. Just make it simple. This is a processing thing that we should include. Using namespace st, which namespace to use. Standard library is using there, so that's why we have used using namespace std there. This is just basic things. You have to just write it down before your every program in the dev C++. Int main, beginning of a function named main. Whenever we are having a main function, so what is a main function? Main function is basically the mother of all functions, which will be run through all our program firstly. So first our compiler and our processor will start from the main, and after the main it will go through the process that we have written inside of the main, whatever we have written inside of the brackets of the main. So these are called the blocks of the main. This is beginning of a block for main, or this is end of block for main. Similarly, these are inner things in the main. Cout, hello, then comma there, hello there. This, in these two quotations, this is our output statement that will be outputted in the console window of our computer. And this cout is used as a keyword that we have discussed it also in the first lecture. Return 0, sends 0 to the operating system, that we have already done all the things that we wanted. Now we are returning nothing to you as a main or as a processor. In the same, I have explained this. Special characters, there are some special characters. Whenever we want to make a line as a comment, this is two slashes. So we just use these two characters in the first of line or in the first of any sentence that we want to make it as a comment. What is comment basically? Comment is used for our simplifying a thing or our simplifying the lines of our program. A simple C++ program. This won't be affecting our program, rather it will be just showing in our program, not in the console window. Neither it will be processed by our own compiler of our program. So it's just a comment. It does not do anything special to our computer or our processor or our console. Okay, the second is this hash. Whenever we are directing anything or we are beginning of a processor directive, so we have to include this one, pounds or hash sign. These two, lesser than or greater than, if we combine both, so these are called open and close brackets in our C++. Whenever we are enclosing file name in hash include, so it will be basically including whatever we want from the outside of our program. These two braces are used for open and close parentheses, used when naming a function. Whenever we are naming a function, so we can use these parentheses as we have used this one. After that, inside of these parentheses we have to add something for the other functions, not for the main function, but we will discuss it. These are the opening close brace for a group of statement. Basically it's used for a block whenever we are making a block of a code, and so we just add these two together. This is the first one and this is the last one. For the first and the last, we will just enclose our programming statement in the block of code. These two quotation marks are used for enclosing a string character. Whenever we are here and we want to just print out these lines, so basically we will just write these two quotation marks, double quotation marks, and inside these double quotation marks we will just write whatever we want and it will be printed out. I will show you all the things practically, so don't be worrying about anything, okay? Just theoretically, and after that we will go step by step all the things practically as well. I have already have this one. Okay, this is my own project. Okay, the cout object. The cout object, why do we use the cout object? Now we will go in the depth of the cout object, what it used for, what is used for. So the cout object is basically for displaying output of our computer in the screen. Whenever we want to display something in the screen of our computer, we just use cout. Sorry, for the cout we are having something like that. So these are called stream insertion operator. Whenever we are using a cout statement, and after that we have to use a stream insertion operator, these two signs together comes this called stream insertion operator. And after that we have to enclose our string or any character that we use we want to share with our screen. And after that we close or we end our line of program by just putting a semicolon. And if we want to end our line of our console window, so we just put an endl in the end of that. Okay, the cout object. The cout object can be used to send more than one item to the cout. We can use it in this way as well, like hello, and after that there. Basically this is first and this will come the second, but it doesn't mean it will come to the second line or the first line. This both will come together. And the same goes for the second way that I have done. Cout, then stream insertion, quotation, then hello, then quotation marks, then semicolon. The same way the other there. And okay, so this and that one, if we are writing both ways, this will be the same way. The output will be in the same way. This and that one. Let's check it out, right? Okay, if we just write in the main that cout and like hello, and after that we are having some kind of string like in the name of Allah, and after that we are just closing that. If we just run it, okay, first of all we have to save it. I'm going to my PC and D drive and save it. Okay, After the saving that, it will go and print it out. Okay, it's working. Wait for a while. Okay, there we go. Come on. Okay, my computer might be busy, and your computer, it should go fast. Okay, go. Okay, now we are having hello and then that mark, and after in the name of Allah. Look, everything is the same line. If we go for the second one, just remember this, everything is the second line, right? In the first line, sorry. If we just break it down there and write cout separately for the second one, this is the same as we have written in the first. So the cout of 8 or the console window will show the same result that we have had in the first time. Okay, let's see. I don't know what's wrong with my dev C++. Okay, come on. Okay, hello in the name of Allah. If we see the code I have written is this different, but the output or the console window is having the same. This is the way that we have to know about the syntaxes. Cout, if we just use it together, or we are just putting everything in the separated lines, these are the same. Rather, if we just use any other mark. Okay, now let's come to the endl. If we just use endl, and after that we just print it out, so the output will be hello. In the second line we will have in the name of Allah. So that's why I am telling you that okay, let me clear that. Now this endl is used for what? This endl is used to end our line. End is end and L is standing for the line. So end line will basically end our line. Look, now we are having hello, then after that we are having in the name of Allah. So the same goes for the other any case that you want. If I just use it there, endl, and after that I'm using cout and hey there. Okay, so it will go for again the second line, and we will have hello, then after that going to the second line, then we will have in the name of Allah, and in the third line we will have hey there. So that's why I've told you that endl is a special character that we are using for the ending our line. Hello, and after that in the name of Allah, the same hey there. Okay, now let's go and learn something more. The cout object is used like this as well. Okay, now the endl operator. In the endl manipulator, I have already told you what is this used for, right? Okay, if we just write programming is, then endl, then after that fun, so it will programming is, then it will go down and it will print out the fun. Okay, the endl manipulator, you do not put a quotation mark around endl. Okay, we just use it in the same that I have written there, endl, in the lowercase, not in the uppercase, because this is a manipulator and it will be the same that I have written there. Okay, now the \n escape sequence, this is only for the escaping sequence that we just this is working the same as an endl, but we just use it inside of the string. Okay, the programming is, then after that we just put an \n, then after that fun and the fun. Okay, now this will have the same thing that we have had there. Programming is now this will go to the second line, then it will print the fun. This is the way. Okay, the include directives. The include directive insert a contents of another file into the program. This is a preprocessor directive, not part of a C++ language. I have told you earlier that including anything is meant that we are including something outside of the C++ language, which is not belonging to our C++ language. The same goes for the point. The same way, if we are having include, and after that we are including something from the outside, so our compiler in our processor will not read that. It will just include it, but it won't be reading anything from the including file. Do not place a semicolon at the end of this one whenever you're writing. Variables and literals. Variable, a storage location in a memory, has a name and the type of a data it can hold and must be defined before it can be used. Whenever we are having a variable, in mathematics we are having x, y, z or anything else, a, b, c, okay? Now in the programming the same case is there, but in the mathematics we haven't used the concept of data types, but we are here we are having data types. What data types does with our variables, it just limits our variable that how much data it will just store and which kind of data it will store. In the end it can just store 4 byte of data, and it will just use and it will just store integer files, integer numbers, integer data, because int stands for integers. Okay, simply 4 bytes and it stores integers. Variables and literals. Variable, okay, I've told you, and this is the definition of an int, or we can just rename this by number, num, or anything xyz we want. Literals. Literal, a value that is written into a program's code. Hello there, this is a string literal, and 12 is an integer literal. Integer literal in a program. This is an integer literal in our program, and these are the string literals. This is our string literals in our program. Okay. Identifiers. So what are the identifiers now? Identifier is a program defined name for some part of a program, variable or function, etc. These are the identifiers that we cannot use. The identifiers use basically we just name something in the program, so these are called identifiers. Identifiers are usually made by the programmer, and we just name them. If I just give you an example, this is identifier, apples. Now apples have come from where? I have written apples from myself, from my mind, from my own idea that it should be apples. I can change it to the apple, it will work. Okay, whenever we just from the math we have that idea, if we just use x there, so we have to use x there as well. If we just use apples there, so it should be apples there back. The same goes for the others. The C++ keywords. The C++ keywords, what can be this identifiers now? There are just 4 limitation. Our identifiers or variable names, it cannot be these things, because these are the keywords for our identifier for our C++ that we cannot use it as identifier. And in all these I have written there. Okay, the variable name should represent the purpose of a variable. For example, items ordered, it should be something familiar to that own variable. It should not be like x and y and z. If this is the same case, x and y and z, so we would not be able to understand what it stores and what kind of data it has. The purpose of this is holding a variable or not a number like that. Now, the identifier rules. Which rules are there? For any identifiers, we just have some rules there. We can just start our identifiers or variables name or functions names by this underscore. I'll show you there. If you just shift it, this one. So this is our what? Underscore. Okay. And after the first character, you may use alphabet characters or number, anything you want, right? But the first character should be an alphabet or an underscore. It should not be any number, or it should not be any sign. And we cannot use any sign inside of our variable name. Okay, total sales. This is valid. Yes. Why? Because we haven't used any wrong thing there. There we have used underscore. Yeah, we are able to do that, but we cannot use any sign. I've wrote you rather than this sign, right? We cannot use dot. We cannot use for in the first by the starting of that, and we cannot use a dollar sign or any other sign rather than dollar sign or any other hashtag. We cannot use inside of our name. So these are not valid, right? Contains a dollar sign. Integer and data types. Integer data type is basically having integers. Now we know that integers are bulk of numbers, and okay, but in the C++, integers data type having some limited value. So this is a limit for an integer that can store a value. So this is approximately about 2 billions, minus 2 billion to the plus 2 billion. Okay, for an integer which can only store these numbers inside these range. And we can have these other data types as well: short, unsigned short, unsigned int, long, and unsigned long. Now there comes a question that why do we need all these if we have a larger amount of that like this? So why do we need a short? For simplifying our program, for saving our data storage, so we just use short or unsigned short or int. That's why we just use short, unsigned, or unsigned short or int or unsigned int. Why? Because of our storage, saving the storage. So that's why we just use all the things together. When just we need 2 bytes, or our number is in range of these numbers, 32,000 minus 32,002 plus 32,000. So we just need a short. If we are having a longer number but this is a plus number, so we can use this one. If our range is broader than that, so we can use int. Or if our range is broader than the int, so we can use a double. We will discuss it later on as well. Defining a variable. Whenever we just want to define a variable, defining a variable, what the name, what this comes from. Defining a variable means that writing a variable and defining a variable to our C++ program. So our program will know our variable by a name and the limitation of that, a data type. Length is an int data type which will have 4 bytes. In the same case goes for the width, which will have int data type 4 bytes. Unsigned int, which will have unsigned int, yada is having 4 bytes. So it will have 4 bytes for the area, and the same goes for the others. But there was some difference. We can write int length and again int length. If we just want both these two lines together, so we can write this way: int, length and width. We will have most of the common things. This is the basic concept, and this is the shortest way that you can do. Now these are the integer, checking, unsigned int and long days. Now checking is equal to -2. Look, let's check it out. Checking, in the int, do we have -20? Yeah, it includes -20, so our program will be going good. Unsigned int, miles, it means our miles cannot have a minus number, so our miles is equal to 4, 2, 7 and 6. This is a plus number. Good, and it will save it. We cannot write a minus number in the miles because this is unsigned int. In the days is equal to 189,000. Long days, now this long is what? This is having 4 bytes, and it will store the integers from the 2 billion, -2 billion to the +2 billion. This is a good way that we have represented. Now this we have made a long journey of miles. Now we have made a long journey of, it will just show this one, we have made a long journey of, and after that we will go to the miles. It will search out what is the value of miles. The value of miles is 427376. It will just show that there, and after that it will comes miles. Now miles will be where? Miles will be right after this number 4276 miles. After that we are having end line, it will go to the second line. Our checking account balance is, now the checking we are having -2, -20, so -20 will be there, and after that it will go to the second or third line. It will end the line about how much days? 189,000 days, and days ago columns. Good, and after that we are not having an endl, it will not end the line, it will strictly go to the stored on this spot. It will go there, and after that it will end the line and return 0. This means our program will be finished. Done. Now an integer literal is an integer value that is typed into a program's code. For example, items order is equal to 15, and this code 15 is an integer literal. Now 15 is what? An integer literal. Good. This is what? Items order defined what? Defining a variable, that we have defined a variable there. This is a defined variable, right? Okay. After that, okay, integer literals in the program 210. This is integer literal that we have used to allocate. Now checking is equal to -20. Now this is equal to is what? Is equal to is assigning operator that we use for assigning any of our number to the variable. Integer literals. Integer literals are stored in the memory as int by default. Whenever we are just writing any integer literal, and they will just defaultly stored in the memory as int or integers. To store an integer constant in a long member location, put L at the end of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and after that whatever number you have, and after that just write an L. So it will just store an integer constant in a long memory location. And the same goes for the third one. Constants that begin with the 0 or base 8, like 0, 7, 8, 5. These are the base 8, and the base 6, or the octal numbers or hexadecimals. If you don't have any idea about that, you can search it out in the Google. You will have a good idea of that. So this is basically representing of an octal number, and this is a representing of a hexadecimal number. The char data type. Okay, let's discuss in the second video the char data type. For today, the 34 slides are enough. Let's see you by next video, and I would like to recommend you that subscribe the channel and like the video as well for the more love and patience. Thank you so much.